provides the hyperlink and the log hosted on the cloud.
Okay, coming to non-functional requirements. Basically, what non-functional requirements define is how well are you going to do the task. For example, Abhishek in functional requirements said that we are going to detect fires. So, how well are we going to detect fires? What is the accuracy? What is the precision? So, these are all covered in non-functional requirement. So, some of the non-functional requirements are displayed in the slide. That is precision, recall, modifiability, portability, robustness, reliability, and usability. So, what is precision and recall? So, precision and recall, these values are actually calculated using the confusion matrix parameters, that is the true positive, true negative, false positive, and false negative. Basically, they deal with the amount of false positive or false negative the system is going to throw to the user. So the precision and recall values must be as high as possible, that is closer to 1. So far in our project work, we have achieved around 0.97, that is 97% of precision and recall. So coming to modifiability, so our project is a base case, that is the data set consists of forest fires, building fires, vehicle fires, electronic fires, and similar other fires. So suppose our system should be deployed in a particular environment, like for example, forest, because smoke and heat detectors cannot be used in forest, right? So say that we are going to deploy our application or system in our in a forest. So we do not need cubicle fairs, we do not need building fairs, we need just forest fairs. So what we can modify the system, how we can modify the system is we can replace the data set with a better data set that is suited for that requirement. That is images of forest without fire and with fire, so that the system will provide better performance in that scenario. Next is portability. Since the application is built using Python and its libraries, it is very portable, because you know Python how portable it is, and it works across all systems irrespective of Windows, Linux, or Mac OS. And the other thing is we are training the model and saving it in a HDF5 format. Okay, so this model can be exported to others so that they could implement in their system. So next is robustness. Robustness is basically the model, or the, how can I say, yeah, the deep learning model should be able to differentiate between objects that are fire and non-fire, and these non-fire objects that I just told share similar characteristics to fire. For example, orange colored object, they share the similar characteristics, right? Orange color. Next, if you take a bulb or a sun, so this is what robustness means. It must be able to differentiate between these two. So next is reliability. In our project work, we have done a lot of comparison. We have taken a lot of deep learning models for feature extraction and classification models, and we are only choosing the best of this to provide the best performance. So the system is very reliable. So next is usability. We are providing a user interface that is very simple, so that all people can use it. They do not need a computer science degree to make use of the system. It would be simple. So next is system requirements.
Now, system requirements. There are two categories: software requirements and hardware requirements. First one is operating system. Any operating system which supports Python 3 and its libraries. Libraries such as Keras and SMTP. Coding languages is Python 3. Python 3 is an interpreted high-level general purpose programming language. And database, Google Firebase. Google Firebase is Google backed application that provides tools for tracking analytics. And IDE, IDE is full form is Integrated Development Environment. IDE is a coding tool which allows user to write, test, and bug your code in an easier way. Those are Visual Studios and Jupyter Notebook. Both backend and frontend is controlled by the Python. And browsers can be any browser such as Edge browser, Firefox, or Google Chrome. Now, hardware requirements. Processor can be any processor, Intel or AMD, supporting 64-bit Windows, Linux, or Mac OS. hard disk should be minimum of 40 GB or more, and RAM should be at least 8 GB or above. More than that, GPU should be minimum of 2 GB or above.
Now, there are some points we have to note here. That is, the hardware requirement I have mentioned here is for training the model. So while deploying the model, we may not need much of GPU memory. I did not get a chance to test this because of the lockdown. I only have one system and I couldn't test with other systems. So after the lockdown, maybe I can test with the systems which do not have GPU. So that is, they make use of their integrated graphic memory. Then we'll update this. So next is system analysis and design. So in system analysis and design, we'll give you a high level design, low level design, along with the various UML diagrams. In that, before we go to that, why did we take this particular design? So the design approach we are following is transfer learning. So what is transfer learning? So transfer learning is a process of using the knowledge acquired while solving one task for solving a similar problem or a similar task. So that is, if I were to give a real time example, suppose you learned how to ride a bicycle. Okay, the knowledge of balancing will be used to ride a bike, right? So if you ride a bike, you know how the gear system works. So this knowledge can be transferred while you are learning a car because the gear system is similar. So we are sharing the knowledge between similar problems, and this can be implemented in four ways. We are using transfer learning. It's also called as representation learning. So this is the first one. The second one is using the model as it is. That is the deep learning model. The third one and the fourth one involves training. That is why we are not choosing it. Why, we are going to explain it later. So the third and fourth one basically involves taking that model and training it with our data set. Okay, the difference between those is, in the first one we are retaining the weights, whereas in the second one we are training the model from scratch. Okay, so these are the four approaches. So why did we take transfer learning in the first place? So the first one is similarity in nature of the problem. ResNet, which is one of the algorithms that we have used for feature extraction, it is used for image classification. At the same time, our project or our work basically deals with the image classification, right? Fire or non-fire. Next, existence of state-of-the-art models. I think there is no point to develop our own system with the limited resources, and it's best to choose or download a model that has been trained on a lot of how can I say, data set. So next is training data. In order to train a regular CNN, we need a lot of training data. Okay, the problem with the fire detection data set is there is no standard data set like diabetes data set, blood cancer data set, or skin cancer. So people don't stay clicking images, they actually run when they see a fire, right? So this is the problem, and that's why you're using transfer learning, because it doesn't require much of training data. So next is time taken for training. So if you remember our milestone one representation, we actually took a CNN. We didn't take a transfer learning approach. We used a CNN to show our results, and it took 2 hours to train for just 3,000 images. And for effective detection, we need at least 60,000 images. At least that's what most blogs and courses had to say. So 3 hours for 2 hours for 3,000 images. So if we take 60,000, it will take 2 days, and that is for like a training iteration. For example, the model, if the model is not good, we have to train it again. That means another 2 days gone on the drain. So next is the computing resources required. So deep learning is usually done in high-end devices which have a lot of GPU memory, which we do not have right now. And these graphic cards usually cost 1 lakh, 2 lakh. So this is not affordable by us. So we are taking transfer learning approach. So high-level design.
High-level design is basically a conceptual model that describes the structure, behavior, and more views of a system. Here, we provide source data as video streams. These video streams are pre-processed into video frames. These video frames is fed into deep learning model, that is ResNet. ResNet is currently being used by us for feature extraction. These extracted features is then fed into machine learning models. That is, we will be using SVM and logistic regression models. The machine learning models classify whether it's a fire or non-fire. If it's a fire, The alert message alert message and the image will be sent to the mailbox. Is sent to the mail, and the timings and other details will be updated to Firebase. Here, Firebase is a cloud database we use here.
Yeah. Now let's move on to database design and structure. We just store the message to a single log, that is log file. And the event of storing the records are called as logging. As told earlier, cloud database is used to implement a log. That is, we are using Firebase so as to store the data. Firebase, Firebase provides developer with variety of tools as also services to help them develop quality apps. It's built on Google's infrastructure. It is categorized as NoSQL database program, that is not only SQL, not only sequence structure query language database. And Firebase offers two subcategories of database: Cloud Firestore and a real-time database. And we are using real-time database instance for our project. Next.
So this is a data flow diagram. A data flow diagram basically explains the flow of data in the project. Okay, so why are we using UML diagrams in the first places? Instead of explaining, it's better to show you the image. And as they say, an image is a story of 1,000 words. So we are using a Gain and Sarsen. There are multiple types of DFT diagrams, and we are using a particular flavor of it. So this data flow diagram is about the training model of our project. So first we take data set. Before that, there are four types of what can I say, nodes. So the first one, the black D, that is called as a data store, and the blue boxes are called processors, and the arrow is called as a data flow. It just signifies there is a data flow between a data store and a process, or between multiple processes. And the last one is actually an entity. This is not covered here, it will be shown in the next diagram. Okay, in this diagram we have a data set. It consists of images and labels. Okay, this will be sent to the feature extraction. So the feature extraction will convert the images into features, feature vectors. Actually, it consists of 2048 numbers in a single list for one image. So if you take, for example, if there are 3,000 images, you'll get a list of 3,000 of size 3,000, and each list size will be around 2,400, 2048. Sorry. So these features and labels are encoded to ensure easier training. So these features and encoded labels are stored in a folder, that is the output. Okay. This folder, I mean the contents of the folder, is used by the classification model. This is used for training. So the trained model is stored in the classification model, a folder named classification model, so that we can use it during the testing or deployment of our project. So this is a deployed system. So there is an entity which is the user, is providing us the video. Okay, the video can be supplied in two ways. It can be either through a video file or through his webcam. Okay, so the video file will be sent to the pre-processing, where in pre-processing we divide the frames. We divide the video into frames, and this process will be explained briefly by Digvijay. So these frames are then sent to feature extraction. Feature extraction sends you the labels, features. So this features is sent to the classification model, which is going to classify. This classification model is trained during the training phase of our system. This is important. So the classification model gives you a result, that is a fire or a non-fire. So depending on the result, we are going to take a separate action. So if the result is non-fire, we just simply display the result to the user in a visual way. So if the result is a fire, what we are going to do is we send the result, timestamp, and a snapshot to the SMTP protocol client, that is the library, and it composes a multi-part email, and this is sent to the mailbox of the user or any stakeholder. So in another direction, we have the result and timestamp being sent to the Firebase API. This Firebase API constitutes various functions that is used to interact with the Firebase, that is the real-time instance of the Firebase. and then this will be converted as a log entry and fed in the log. So this is all about data flow diagrams, row level design.
Coming to preprocessing is nothing but transformation of video frames before it is sent to machine learning model. In preprocessing, what we do is we divide video streams into video frames. These video frames by default will be in BGR scheme. So we will convert BGR scheme into RGB scheme. We resize the video frame dimensions or resolution to the same dimension that is required by input layer of pre-built feature extraction model. Why we resize is our ResNet model requires a dimension of 224 into 224. So every image will not be in the same dimension. So we will resize the video frames. Before passing to machine learning model, the video frame is converted into NumPy array, and pre-processing function is specific to the model architecture is applied.
Yeah. Soon after pre-processing, feature extraction is done. Now, what is feature extraction? Feature extraction is a process of dimensionality reduction by which an initial set of raw data is reduced to more manageable groups for processing. We are using any one of ResNet or Inception v3 or InceptionNet for feature extraction. The weights are trained on ImageNet. Deeper layer accommodate high level of features. This process requires large amount of memory and computation power. That is around 60 to 70% of computation power is required for this process itself. Finally, we get summarized feature vector corresponding to the image. And then this is passed on to the classification process, which will be handled by CK. Next, Chetan. Hello.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, in classification, what we do is we take the trained models or machine learning models such as decision tree, SVM, logistic regression. We take this and we send the features to the classifying models, and this will give us a result. That is it a fire or a non-fire? So this is all about classification. And next is model selection. So how, as Digvijay said, we are using ResNet. So why did we actually choose ResNet? And in classification, for now, we are using SVM and logistic regression. So why only these two? I have mentioned there are decision tree and naive Bayes too. So why are we not using these? So these models are actually tested by us using the data set we have, and we are recording the parameters or the performance metrics. So based on this performance metrics, whichever the model provides us the highest performance metrics like accuracy, precision, and recall, we are using it. So for now, ResNet is offering the highest precision, accuracy, and recall values for the training data set for using classification model of SVM and logistic regression. The precision and recall values are around 97%. We'll be showing you that. So next is result processing.
Now, finally coming to result processing, the result of the classification is displayed to the user. Depending on the result, further actions are taken. If the result is fire, then email will be sent to a concerned stakeholders along with the video frame and date timestamp to alert them. The email ID to the which mail is delivered can be changed by the user. An entry will also be made in the cloud database for the purpose of analysis.
Yeah. Now let's see about activity diagram. Activity diagrams are graphical representation of workflow of stepwise activities and actions. In our project, the input would be video. The first condition to be examined is video corruption. If the video sent as input is corrupted, then the process is terminated immediately without proceeding to further steps. If not corrupted, then it is checked for another condition, that is that the end of the video frame? If all the video frames are processed, Chetan?
Just a minute.
as I was saying, if not corrupted, then it is checked for another condition, that is that the end of the video frame. If all the video frames are processed, it terminates. If not, each video frame is extracted and pre-processed. Then the features are extracted and classified. The classification is a process which provides the result. If the fire is detected, then system sends an alert email to concerned authority, later update the log, and also display the result on the screen and check for other video frames. This is actually a recurring process until the last video frame is examined. Next.
Sequential diagram depicts interaction between objects in sequential order. Here, user is a role where it interacts with system and its objects. Application, database, and mail server are the lifelines. These lifelines depicts the individual participants. Here, user provides input video stream to application. The activity diagram, which was explained by Abhishek, it comes under the application. If it detects the fire, if application detects the fire, which contains the activity diagram, it will send a message which contains alert message and image to mail server. Here, there is a asynchronous message between application and mail server is held. A status code is replied by the mail server that tells about the current status, which may include successful message transfer or error message. This error message may be caused due to the improper mail address or poor network connection. The timings and other details are updated to cloud database, and a status code is replied by the database. This status code may include updation successful message or error message. This error message may be caused due to the improper authentication or if there is a problem in database connection. Finally, the result is sent back to the corresponding user. Here, a provision is provided by application user to change his ID.
User interface design. Let us see what is user interface. Uh, inter, uh, Interface between humans and software, and the goal of the interaction is to allow effective operation and control of the machine from the human end. The following features in interface is allowing the user to provide the video input either from a video file or through webcam, viewing the result in a simple nature, and set or update the alert email ID. Email ID can also be changed, and provides the link to access mail and through log hosted on the cloud.
Okay, for now, we haven't we haven't invested time in database design and UI design. We have actually completed with the core of our project, that is the classification. We'll be showing the progress of that right now. I hope you can see a video on the screen. Unfortunately, due to Zoom buffering issues, we are only seeing maybe 2 or 3 frames in maybe in 10 frames. So either way, you can view the result. For now, it's showing okay, right? That is, the result is okay. We do not have any fire. So what the user is doing there is he's taking a hair dryer and in the non state and is covering it with a nylon cloth. So if you want to set fire on in anybody's home, this is the best way to do it. So the heat builds up and a fire breaks out. So this is detected by our system, which we'll see shortly. So I'll stop it here since you can clearly view the result. So what happened here is it displayed the result, that is there is a fire in about 11 seconds. So this forms our identification of fire. So next is we said we are going to send a mail, right? So let me illustrate that too. So we're going to be running the same video. I mean, we have a lot of videos, we'll show it. Since there is about 3 minutes, I'll just show the email functionality. So there is a problem here. There are some high quality videos, right? They have 60 frames per second. So if we process 60 frames per second, there will be a lot of delay, right? So we are taking a sample rate approach. So what is sample rate? In sample rate approach, we are taking 1 in n frames. This n may be 2, 3, 5, 10, or 60. Because if you are going to implement this model in a low-end device such as a Raspberry Pi, it won't have that much of processing power. So what we can do in such an instances, we can take 1 in 10 frames, right? So this won't affect the model that much, because uh, if we get a single frame for every 1 second too, then that will mean a lot. Okay, there is some problem. Okay, server not connected. I guess I'm having network issues. So either way, I have already done it because I anticipated such network issues. Since I'm running Zoom with both audio and video streams, either way I'll show how it displays. So we'll get an email that is fire alarm, fire detected, time, date, and along with an image. This is a experiment we conducted for another video. That is, the fire is identified at a very early stage. In this video, the fire is actually detected by the smoke detector at around 16 seconds, whereas our model detected in at just 10 seconds, right? So in the subject, we have fire alarm, then we have the time and date stamp. So we have not yet included the log functionality, since we are focusing on the core functionality. This would be updated to you in the coming days. So that would be it, I guess, for the progress. So coming to code, let me show you part of the code. Yeah, since we have a minute left. So we are importing NumPy, ArcParse, Pickle, CV2, and these are the libraries we need to implement the system. We have an email generator function. We are using SMTPlib. Uh, Along with SMTPlib, we are using MIME. So what is MIME? MIME gives us the ability to form multi-part images. That is, a basic email only contains the body, right? Here we can attach images, videos, and files too. So this is sent. This is the email from which I'm sending the email, and this is the Gmail server and the port number that I'm going to use. And this is a function to send an email. Then we take the feature extraction model. Then we are going to test it on videos. So this is just a testing module of our project. So the code is quite less, but if you compare to other modules, there are a lot more code. So the session is going to end in 1 minute. Abhishek, you can stop the session, I guess.